Perfect. Everything has to be perfect. Sophia's voice drifted through our apartment, accompanied by the rapid clicking of her laptop keys. I looked up from my coffee, studying my fiancé's face illuminated by the screen's glow. You've been at this for hours. Come to bed? Just a few more minutes, Oliver. James sent over some venue lighting options I need to review. James, our wedding photographer. Even his name was starting to get under my skin. At midnight? He's an artist. They keep weird hours. She didn't look up from her screen, but her lips curved into a slight smile. Besides, we want the photos to be perfect, right? You keep using that word. Now she did look up, her dark eyes narrowing slightly. What word? Perfect. Everything's gotta be perfect lately. The venue, the flowers, the photos. It's our wedding, Oliver. Don't you want it to be special? Special doesn't mean perfect. And perfect doesn't mean you have to handle everything yourself. She closed her laptop with a sharp click. Is that what this is about? You feeling left out? Left out? Sophia, I feel like I'm barely involved in my own wedding. Every time I offer to help, you try to optimize everything like it's one of your business projects. Her voice took on that condescending tone I'd grown to hate. Some things can't be reduced to spreadsheets and efficiency metrics. Don't do that. Don't make this about my job. Then what is it about? I set my coffee down, choosing my words carefully. You've changed. Ever since we started planning this wedding? Oh, here we go. Let me finish. You're distant, secretive, always on your phone or laptop, always rushing off to vendor meetings that I'm not allowed to attend. They're surprises, Oliver. For you. For us. Are they? Because it feels like you're building walls instead of planning a wedding. She stood up, gathering her laptop and phone. I'm not having this conversation right now. It's late. I'm tired, and you're clearly in one of your moods. My moods? When did you become so dismissive? When did you become so paranoid? She headed toward our bedroom, then paused in the doorway. You know what? I think I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. I have an early meeting with James tomorrow about the engagement photo layout. At least tell me where this meeting is. She turned, and for a moment, something flickered across her face. Guilt? Fear? The usual coffee shop. Why? No reason. I picked up my phone. Maybe I'll stop by, see how it's going. Don't. The word came out sharp, almost panicked. I mean, it's bad luck for you to see the photo arrangements before they're ready. Bad luck? Since when do you believe in God, Oliver? Why can't you just trust me? Why does everything have to be an interrogation? Because you're making it impossible to trust you. The words exploded out of me, louder than intended. Every question meets resistance. Every offer to help gets shut down. It's like you're orchestrating this elaborate production, and I'm just supposed to show up and play my part. She stared at me for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Maybe I am. And maybe that's exactly what you need to do. Her voice was cold, controlled. Show up. Say your lines. Trust that I know what I'm doing. Is that what this marriage is going to be? Me following your stage directions? This marriage, she said, emphasizing each word, will be whatever we make it. Right now, I'm trying to make it perfect. If you can't handle that, maybe we need to have a different conversation. The threat hung in the air between us. I felt my hands shaking and shoved them into my pockets. Fine. Go to your meeting tomorrow. But this conversation isn't over. Yes, it is. She turned away. At least for tonight. The guest room door closed with a quiet click that somehow felt louder than a slam. I stood in our living room, surrounded by wedding magazines and vendor catalogs, feeling like a stranger in my own life. My phone buzzed, a text from Tom, my best man. Hey man, you free for coffee tomorrow morning? Need to talk to you about something. I glanced at the guest room door, then typed back, usual place, 8 a.m.? His response came quickly, perfect. And man, bring your laptop. Something in his tone made my stomach clench. I looked at the closed guest room door again, remembering Sophia's reaction when I mentioned stopping by her meeting with James. See you tomorrow, I typed back, already dreading what my best friend might need to show me. The night stretched ahead, full of questions I wasn't sure I wanted answered. But as I lay in our suddenly too empty bed, One thought kept circling. When had perfect become such an ugly word? Morning came too quickly and not quickly enough. I left before Sophia emerged from the guest room, leaving a note about an early meeting, the same excuse she'd been using for weeks. The irony wasn't lost on me. Tom was already at our usual coffee shop when I arrived, his expression grim. He had his laptop open and a thick manila envelope on the table. "Sit down, man." He pushed a coffee toward me. "We need to talk about your wedding photographer." And just like that, I knew. Sometimes perfect isn't what it seems. Sometimes it's just a beautiful lie waiting to be exposed. "Show me," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Show me everything." Tom opened his laptop, and the life I thought I knew began to unravel, one perfect lie at a time. "You remember my cousin Sarah?" Tom's fingers hovered over his laptop keyboard. "The one who works at the Grand Hotel? The wedding venue?" My coffee sat untouched, growing cold. "Yeah. She's been seeing some interesting late-night bookings lately. Private rooms, charged to a James Morrison photography." My throat tightened. That could be any. With a second guest registered as Sophia Chan. The world tilted sideways. I gripped the edge of the table. "When?" "Last week. 3 times." Tom turned his laptop around. "And that's just the beginning." Security camera stills filled the screen. Sophia entering the hotel's side entrance. James following minutes later. Times, dates, all methodically logged. "There's more." Tom's voice was gentle. "You should see the bank statements." "Bank statements?" "Joint account review for the wedding expenses? Remember how you asked me to look them over? Being your best man and an accountant." I nodded numbly. "Those vendor meetings she's been charging? Half of them are at hotels, restaurants, places nowhere near any actual wedding vendors." "Stop." My voice cracked. "Just stop. Oliver." "No. I mean stop talking and show me everything. Every receipt. Every photo. Every damn lie." For the next hour, Tom laid out an elaborate tapestry of deception. Hotel charges disguised as vendor meetings. Late-night photo sessions that were nothing of the sort. Email exchanges he'd somehow obtained, full of intimate details and future plans. "Paris?" I choked out, reading one exchange. "They're planning to go to Paris? After the wedding. She's calling it a business trip for the gallery." My phone buzzed. "Sophia, meeting running late. See you at dinner? Love you." I showed Tom the message. He checked his watch. The Grand Hotel's cameras show them checking in 20 minutes ago. Something snapped inside me. I stood up, chair scraping loudly. "Where are you going?" Tom grabbed my arm. "Where do you think?" "Oliver, wait. You need to be smart about this." "Smart?" I laughed bitterly. I've been smart. I've been understanding. I've been the perfect fucking fiancé while she... Exactly. So don't blow it now. You want revenge? Real revenge? Then be strategic. I sank back down. "What do you suggest?" "The wedding's in 3 days. Everyone's already in town. Your families, her friends, all those art world connections she's so proud of." Understanding dawned. "You want me to wait?" "I want you to destroy her the way she destroyed you. Publicly, completely, and with irrefutable evidence." My phone buzzed again. Another message from Sophia. "Thinking about our first dance song. James had some great suggestions. This wedding will be perfect." "Perfect," I muttered. "Everything has to be perfect. Oliver?" Tom's voice was concerned. I looked up, a cold clarity settling over me. "Send me everything. Every photo, every receipt, every email. Then call Sarah. I need access to the hotel security feeds." "What are you planning?" "A perfect ending." I stood up again, calmer now. "One that'll make for some really interesting wedding photos." "Where are you going?" "To meet my fiancé for dinner. To smile and laugh and play my part." I felt my lips curve into a smile that didn't reach my eyes. After all, isn't that what she wants? For me to just show up and say my lines? "Be careful," Tom warned. "If she suspects..." "Oh, don't worry. I've learned from the best." I checked my phone's time. They should be finishing up at the hotel soon. I think I'll surprise her with lunch instead of dinner. Maybe even bring some coffee to her meeting with James. Oliver. I wonder, I said, my voice eerily calm, if they've picked out their perfect lighting for those Paris photos yet. I left Tom at the coffee shop, his worried expression reflected in the window as I passed. My phone buzzed one more time. Another message from Sophia. Can't wait to be your wife. Everything will be perfect, I promise. I typed back, perfect is exactly what you'll get. Then I headed toward the Grand Hotel, rehearsing my lines for the performance of a lifetime. After all, some shows deserve a preview before the main event. The Grand Hotel's lobby was all polished marble and crystal chandeliers, the perfect backdrop for a perfect lie. The receptionist's smile faltered when I approached. Mr. Matthews. We weren't expecting you today. No? I kept my voice light. I'm looking for my fiancée. She's in a meeting with our wedding photographer. James Morrison? Her eyes darted to the house phone. Sir, Room 512, a voice behind me said. Sarah, Tom's cousin, stepped up to the desk. They've been there for 2 hours. The receptionist's protest died on her lips as I turned toward the elevators. Oliver, Sarah called after me. Security footage shows they ordered lunch. Champagne too. Celebrating. They were celebrating. The elevator ride felt eternal. Each floor brought a new text message from Tom. Are you sure about this? Maybe wait until the wedding. Don't do anything stupid. I stepped out on the 5th floor just as a door opened down the hallway. James emerged first, adjusting his camera strap. Sophia followed, fixing her hair. That angle was perfect, she was saying. The way the light hits. She froze mid-sentence, seeing me. The color drained from her face. Oliver, what are you doing here? Surprising my fiancée. I smiled, remembering my lines. How was the meeting? James stepped forward, professional mask in place. Oliver, hey, we were just reviewing some lighting techniques for the Paris trip. The silence was deafening. Sophia's hand went to her throat. A nervous tell I'd always found endearing. Now it just made me sick. I don't know what you're talking about, she started, but I cut her off. Room 512. I looked at James. Interesting choice for lighting techniques. Though I guess the champagne helps with creativity. Oliver, please. Sophia moved toward me. This isn't what you think. No? I pulled out my phone. So these hotel receipts, they're not what I think? These emails about your plans after the wedding, not what I think either. James's professional demeanor cracked. You hacked our emails? Our emails? I laughed. Interesting choice of words there, James. Very intimate. Oliver, stop. Sophia grabbed my arm. Let's talk about this privately. I shook her off. Private? Like your private photo sessions? Your private meetings? Your private room bookings? You're making a scene, she hissed. Am I? I thought you liked scenes. You've been directing this one for months. A door opened down the hall. An elderly couple emerged, then quickly retreated at the tension in the air. Oliver, James tried again. Let's be reasonable. Reasonable? I turned to him. Like plotting to sleep with another man's fiancée? Like planning a romantic Paris getaway while photographing our wedding? It's not that simple, Sophia pleaded. Actually, it is. It's perfectly simple. I stepped closer to them. You're sleeping with our wedding photographer. Have been for months. Planning a future together while planning our wedding. Did I miss anything? I love you, she whispered. No. My voice was ice. You love the idea of me. The stable, successful fiancé who gives you cover while you play out your real fantasies. That's not. The wedding's off. She grabbed my arm again. Oliver, please. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. Work through. Fix it. I pulled away. Like you fixed the hotel receipts to look like vendor meetings? Or fixed your evening schedule to accommodate your affair? You're not thinking clearly, she insisted. You're upset, I understand, but... Oh, I'm thinking very clearly. I checked my phone. And right now, I'm thinking about the group text I just sent to both our families. They're waiting in the hotel restaurant. The blood drained from her face. You didn't. I did. Your parents, my parents, the wedding party. They're all downstairs, waiting to hear about a last-minute wedding detail. I smiled. Should we go tell them? You can't, she breathed. Can't what? Tell the truth? Show them the evidence? Let them see who you really are? James stepped between us. This is between you and Sophia. Wrong. I pushed past him toward the elevator. This stopped being private the moment you both decided to make our wedding your cover story. Oliver, wait. Sophia's voice was panicked now. Think about what you're doing. I held the elevator door open, looking at them both. You know what's funny? You kept saying everything had to be perfect. The venue, the photos, the lighting. I stepped into the elevator. Well, the lighting in the restaurant is excellent. Perfect for exposing true colors. The last thing I saw as the doors closed was Sophia's face. A mix of fear, anger, and something else. Recognition, maybe. Recognition that her perfect plan was about to shatter. The elevator descended, and with each floor, I felt lighter. By the time I reached the lobby, I was almost smiling. Our families were waiting, concern etched on their faces. Behind me, I heard the stairwell door burst open. Sophia and James, racing to damage control. But it was too late. The truth, like the perfect lighting they'd so carefully planned, was about to illuminate everything. The hotel's private dining room felt like a courtroom. Our families sat around the massive table, confusion and concern etched on their faces. Tom stood by the door, laptop ready. When Sophia burst in with James trailing behind, the scene was complete. Oliver, please, she gasped. Don't do this. My mother stood first. Do what? Oliver, what's going on? Yes, son. Sophia's father joined in. Your message seemed urgent. I looked at each face around the table, people who'd been preparing to become family in 3 days' time. I wanted everyone here because what I'm about to say affects all of us. Oliver, Sophia tried again, moving toward me. We can talk about this privately. Like your private meetings with James? Her mother's head snapped up. What meetings? Show them, Tom. The projector hummed to life, casting hotel receipts and time-stamped photos onto the wall. Gasps filled the room. My father's coffee cup clattered against its saucer. These are fake, Sophia announced, her voice steady. Oliver's jealous. He's fabricating. The champagne in room 512 was real enough, I cut in. An hour ago. Or should we ask Sarah to pull the security footage? James stepped forward. This is inappropriate. These allegations? Allegations? Tom clicked to the next slide, their email exchanges. Your own words, James. Planning your Paris getaway while planning their wedding photos. Pretty inappropriate, I'd say. Sophia's mother stood, swaying slightly. Sophia, tell me this isn't true. Mom, I can explain. Explain what? I projected my voice to fill the room. How you've been sleeping with our wedding photographer for months. How you used our wedding planning as cover for your affair. Or should we discuss the real reason you insisted on handling all the vendor meetings yourself? You're twisting everything. Sophia's composure cracked. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? My mother's voice was ice. Please enlighten us. I made a mistake. Oliver and we were having problems. Problems? I laughed. The only problem was that I trusted you. Her father stood now, facing her. How long? Daddy, please. How long? Sophia's shoulders slumped. 6 months. The room erupted. My mother burst into tears. Sophia's father collapsed back into his chair. James tried to slip toward the door, but Tom blocked his path. Stay, Tom growled. You helped create this mess. You can face it. You know what the worst part is? I addressed the room. It's not the affair. It's not even the lies. It's that our wedding, this thing we've all been planning and celebrating, was just, what? A cover story? A networking opportunity? That's not fair, Sophia protested. Fair? My father's voice boomed. You want to talk about fair? We've spent thousands on this wedding. Guests are flying in from overseas. The venue, the caterers, all of which can be canceled, I interrupted. I've already spoken to them. Sophia's head snapped up. You what? This morning. Full refunds, given the circumstances. They were very understanding when I explained about the photographer. You had no right. No right? I stepped closer to her. Like you had no right to make a mockery of our relationship? To use our wedding as cover for your affair? I loved you, she whispered. No, you loved what I represented. Stability. Respectability. The perfect fiancé while you played out your real fantasies. Her mother made a choked sound. How could you do this to us? To him? Mom, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, her mother cut in. You've humiliated your family. Destroyed a good man's trust. For what? A photographer? James flinched. Mrs. Chon, Don't you dare speak to me, she hissed. You were hired to capture memories, not destroy them. Everyone needs to calm down, Sophia's father tried. Ever the mediator. Perhaps we can. There's nothing to fix here, I said firmly. The wedding's off. The truth's out. All that's left is to inform the guests. Oliver, Sophia grabbed my arm. Please, we can work through this. Go to counseling. Start fresh. I shook her off. Like you were planning to start fresh in Paris? More gasps. James had the decency to look ashamed. That's right, I continued. They had it all planned. A romantic getaway right after our honeymoon. Because apparently, one perfect fantasy wasn't enough. Is this true? Sophia's father demanded. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence said everything. I think, my father stood, offering my mother his handkerchief. We're done here. Oliver, let's go. Wait, Sophia called out. Please, just let me explain. Explain? My mother's voice cracked. Explain how you planned to marry my son while sleeping with another man? How you looked me in the eye and called me Mom while betraying everything that word means. The room fell silent. Even Sophia, master of manipulation, had no response. Tom, I nodded to my friend. Send everyone the evidence. Let them decide for themselves whether to believe her explanations. Oliver, no? Real panic in her voice now. Why not? You wanted everything to be perfect, remember? Well, this is perfect, the perfect ending to your perfect lie. I turned to leave, then paused at the door. Oh, and James? You can keep the deposit for the wedding photos. Consider it payment for showing me who she really is. The door closed behind me, but not before I heard Sophia's mother's final, devastating words. What have you done, Sophia? What have you done to us all? The week after the confrontation passed in a blur of canceled reservations and awkward phone calls. I was in my office, staring at a spreadsheet I couldn't focus on, when Tom knocked on my door. Your phone's been blowing up all morning, he said, dropping into the chair across from me. Sophia's mother. 9th time today. What does she want? To fix things. Apparently, Sophia's deeply sorry and needs to explain. I clicked my phone to silent. Nothing to explain. Actually, Tom shifted uncomfortably. There might be. I looked up sharply. What do you mean? James came to see me this morning, and you're just telling me now? Had to make sure I had the full story. He pulled out his phone. You need to hear this. A recording played, James's voice, strained and nervous. It wasn't just an affair. The wedding. It was meant to be her masterpiece. Her perfect cover. Cover for what? Tom's voice on the recording. The art fraud. High-end forgeries, sold through her gallery connections. She needed someone with reputation, status. She needed Oliver. I felt the blood drain from my face. Turn it off. There's more. I said turn it off. Silence filled the office. Then my phone buzzed again. Sophia's mother. Answer it, Tom suggested. Why? So they can spin more lies? So you can hear how deep this goes. The Chins, they're not just apologizing. They're scared. I stared at the buzzing phone. Finally, I answered. Mrs. Chon. Oliver, thank God. Her voice was desperate. We need to talk. Not about the wedding, about Sophia's activities. I know about the art fraud. A sharp intake of breath. How? James talks when he's scared. Question is, why are you calling me instead of the police? Because. She paused. Because we're all implicated. The gallery, our family's reputation. Please, we need to meet. The Jade Garden, I said after a moment. 1 hour. I hung up and looked at Tom. Coming. Wouldn't miss it. The Jade Garden was quiet for lunch hour. Mrs. Chun sat alone at a corner table, looking years older than she had at the hotel confrontation. Where's Mr. Chun? I asked, sliding into the seat across from her. Meeting with our lawyers. She looked around nervously. Oliver, what James told you. Save it. I want the whole story. Now. She took a shaky breath. The gallery was struggling. High-end art market isn't what it used to be. Sophia suggested a solution. Forgeries. She called them reproductions. Said with the right connections, right paperwork, no one would know. And you went along with it? We didn't know at first. By the time we realized, she had everything documented. Insurance forms, provenance papers, all with our signatures. Tom leaned forward. She set you up? Her own parents, Mrs. Chin whispered. She used us just like she used you. Why tell me this now? Because she's gone. Fresh tears welled up. Took everything, gallery documentation, bank records, all of it. She's threatening to expose everything unless what? Unless you drop it. All of it. Signed papers saying the wedding was canceled by mutual agreement. No mention of the affair, no evidence shared. I laughed bitterly. She's blackmailing her own parents to protect her reputation? Oliver, please. Our family's reputation. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. I pulled out my phone, dialed a number. What are you doing? Mrs. Chin asked, panicked. Making a call. The line connected. Agent Roberts? Oliver Matthews. Remember that art fraud case you mentioned at the club last month? I have something you need to see. Mrs. Chin's face went ash white. Oliver, no? Send a team to the Chen Gallery and put out an alert for Sophia Chen. Multiple identities, probably headed to Paris. I hung up and stood. The FBI will be here soon. I suggest you cooperate fully. You're ruining us, she whispered. No, Mrs. Chun. Sophia did that. I'm just exposing the truth. All of it. Why? She grabbed my arm. Why not just walk away? I looked down at her hand, then back at her face. Because perfect lies deserve perfect justice. Tom and I left her there, crying into her untouched tea. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. That was cold, Tom commented. That was necessary. I loosened my tie. Come on. Where are we going? To my apartment. I need to pack. Pack. I managed a small smile. I hear Paris is beautiful this time of year. You're going after her? No. I checked my phone. An alert from my bank. A large withdrawal, exactly as I'd expected. She's not going to Paris. That was another lie, planted because she knew someone would talk. She's probably headed to Switzerland. How do you know? Because I know Sophia. Every perfect plan needs a perfect escape route. I hailed a cab, and I know exactly where she'll run. The cab pulled up. Tom grabbed my arm. Oliver, be careful. She's dangerous. No. I got in the cab. She's desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. As we pulled away, my phone buzzed one last time. A text from Sophia. You don't want to do this. I typed back. Actually, I do. You taught me well. Everything has to be perfect, remember? Then I turned off my phone and watched the city slide by, planning my next move in this game of perfect revenge. Zurich's Bahnhofstrasse glittered in the winter sunshine. Luxury boutiques and private banks standing shoulder to shoulder like conspirators. I sat in a cafe across from the Credit Suisse building, watching the entrance through my phone's camera. Targets approaching, Agent Roberts' voice crackled in my earpiece. Remember, we need her to enter the bank. She will. I sipped my coffee. Perfect plan, remember? Right on cue, Sophia appeared, wrapped in an expensive coat I'd never seen before. Her hair was shorter, darker, but her walk was unmistakable, that confident stride that had first caught my attention in college. My phone buzzed. Tom, FBI team in position. You sure about this? I didn't respond. Sophia was nearly at the bank steps when she froze, her perfect poise cracking as she spotted me in the cafe window. For a moment, our eyes met across the street. Then she turned and walked fast but not running, never running, in the opposite direction. I stood, dropping euros on the table. She's made me. Moving to intercept. Wait for backup, Roberts warned. No time. I was already moving. She'll have a contingency plan. I caught up with her in a quiet side street. Hello, Sophia. She turned slowly, composure restored. I wondered when you'd show up. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? The Paris misdirect? The Swiss bank account? Actually, she smiled that perfect smile I'd once loved. I counted on it. Warning bells rang in my head. What do you mean? Oh, Oliver. She shook her head. Still thinking like an accountant. Always so linear. Where's the money, Sophia? Which money? The gallery funds? The wedding account? Or? Her smile widened. The 3 million you didn't know about? My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Check your phone, darling. I think you'll find some interesting transfers from your company's accounts. All properly authorized, of course. Amazing what you can do with passwords saved on a shared laptop. I pulled out my phone, hands shaking slightly. Don't bother calling the office, she continued. Those trades you supposedly approved this morning? They'll take hours to unwind. By then? You're bluffing. Am I? Remember when you gave me your backup codes? Just in case, you said. So trusting. So perfect. I finished, smiling. Her expression faltered. What's funny? Check your own phone, darling. She pulled it out, face paling as she read the screen. This isn't possible. Every trade reversed. Every transfer frozen. Amazing what you can do when you're expecting someone to steal your passwords. But how? You taught me well, Sophia. Perfect plans need perfect timing. I've been waiting for you to try this since I found your first set of forged documents. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. It's over, I said softly. The FBI has everything. The art fraud evidence, the bank transactions, even that cute little attempt to hack my company's accounts just now. I'll deny everything. But her voice shook slightly. It's my word against your parents. I stepped closer. They're cooperating fully. Turns out family loyalty only goes so far when you're facing federal charges. They wouldn't. They did. Yesterday, along with James. Seems he doesn't like the idea of prison. The sirens were very close now. Sophia's perfect composure cracked completely. I did love you, she whispered. In my way. Your way? I laughed. Your way was lies and manipulation. Perfect little performances for your perfect little cons. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Every relationship was a mark. Every love story was a con. Even our wedding was just, what did James call it? Your masterpiece? Police cars appeared at both ends of the street. FBI agents emerged, weapons drawn. You know what your mistake was? I asked as they approached, teaching me to appreciate perfect timing. Agent Roberts reached us first. Sophia-chan, you're under arrest for fraud, money laundering, and about a dozen other charges we'll discuss at the station. As they led her away, she looked back once. Was any of it real? That's the thing about perfect, Sophia. I touched my wedding ring one last time before dropping it at her feet. It never is. 3 months later, I sat in another cafe, this time in San Francisco. Tom dropped into the chair across from me, sliding over a newspaper. She took the plea deal, he announced. 15 years, full cooperation. Her parents got immunity. And James? 5 years, supervised release. Had to return all his photography awards, though. I smiled at that. Fitting. You okay? I considered the question, really considered it. You know what? I am. Really? After everything? She taught me something valuable, Tom. Perfect isn't real. Real is messy and complicated, and sometimes it hurts. But it's honest. Deep. He grinned. Speaking of honest, that woman at the bar's been watching you. I glanced over. Dark hair, warm smile, reading what looked like case files. She's a prosecutor, Tom added. Works white-collar crime division. Not interested. Come on, man. Time to move on. I watched her for a moment. She caught my eye, smiled. Not a perfect smile, but a real one. Maybe, I conceded. But first, first, I'm going to do something imperfect. I stood up. I'm going to tell her the truth about everything. Right up front. Bold strategy. No. I straightened my tie. Just honest. As I walked to her table, I felt lighter than I had in months. Sometimes the perfect ending isn't perfect at all. Sometimes it's just real.